My name is Olga Nissenbaum. I'm a postdoctoral fellow of Aner University, Israel, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you for inviting. I'm presenting the project PSImple Practical Multiparty Maliciously Secure Private Set Intersection. This is a joint work with Aner Ben-Efraim, Eran, Omri, and Anat Paskin-Cherniavsky from Aner University, Israel. Let me show some motivative example. Let there be some intrusion detection system where cooperating agencies aim to find suspicious IP addresses looking for an intersection of their personal lists of suspect users. They don't want to disclose their entire list, which can leak sensitive information. So they can run the PSI protocol, which is multi-party private set intersection protocol, which allow the set of mutually distrustful parties, each holding a private set of items, to jointly compute the intersection of those sets and nothing more. They can run a secure computation protocol, and by the end of it, they learn the intersection, in this case, the set BDF. Any party obtains no information about the elements of other parties or their partial intersection. The PSI problem has a lot of practical applications like private contact discovery, password breach monitoring, CATS conversion measurement, botnet detection, and many more. Our goal is to build a secure, multi-party, concretely efficient PSI protocol. We would like to obtain the security against any number of parties actively abusing the protocol. We achieve the concrete efficiency, which means that the protocol is efficient in the execution with the realistic number of parties and set sizes, not only having a good asymptotic complexity, meaning that the speed not too fast decreases, speed decreases with the growing parameters. And we want our PSI protocol to scale well with the number of parties and the input size. Let us show a naive example of how PSI protocol can be built for the special case of two parties. Let Alice and Bob compute and send to each other the hash values of their private elements. Comparing hashes, parties can compute the intersection. However, this protocol is not secure. Why? Because despite the fact that elements are hidden, it's possible for, say, Alice to send some random values instead and still obtain the correct output. Also, if the domain is small, or if the distribution of items is far from the uniform, then Alice could save the received hash values and probe them later, thus recovering much more of Bob's elements that was supposed. To manage the security issues in secure multi-party computations, we consider the model of the adversary who can take the control over some subset of parties. There are two basic models of the adversary. A semi-honest adversary is one that must follow the prescribed protocol, but may try to infer information about honest parties given its view in the protocol. A malicious adversary can instruct corrupt parties to deviate from the protocol in any way it wishes. The malicious model is more realistic than the semi-honest one. However, it's harder to obtain malicious security. Our multi-party protocol is maliciously secure. Another important issue is efficiency. There are a number of splendid PSI works which are computationally heavy, even having low communication complexity. Our protocol uses only lightweight building blocks, apart from the small constant number of seeds to start and computationally efficient. In many scenarios, it is possible to improve the performance by splitting the protocol into phases. The offline phase doesn't require the input data and could be performed at any time beforehand. The online phase is executed after the parties obtain their inputs and are ready to compute the protocol. It's desirable to take the heaviest part of computation and communication to the offline phase. Then the visible part of the interaction is fast. In our protocol, most of the heavy interactions and computations are in the offline phase. For some settings, the number of rounds, that is the phases when the parties can send messages in parallel, is crucial. Our protocol has only 2 online rounds, which is less than any other MPSI protocol. Other existing MPSI protocols have minimum 3 online rounds. There was great progress in two-party PSI made. There are many secure and efficient protocols. Let's look at the multi-party malicious landscape before our project. One of the first maliciously secure PSI protocols appeared in 2005 in the work of Kistner and Song. It has nice asymptotic communication complexity, but is computationally heavy and was never implemented. Challenger Reiki and SEO 2012 had better asymptotic communication, but still impractical due to the heavy building blocks such as homomorphic encryption, zero knowledge proofs, etc. Hazai and Venkita Subramaniam 17 built a malicious MPSI, which is also not computationally efficient due to the quadratic number of exponentiations. The recent work of Ghosh and Nigels, 19, has the best asymptotic communication complexity out of all previous malicious MPSI. However, our recent analysis show that it's insecure. We stress that all these malicious MPSI works had asymptotic complexity as the goal and made outstanding progress in it. Finally, most relevant to our work are the semi-honest secure MPSI protocol of Enbar et al. 18, with the Kolesnikov et al. 17 was the state-of-the-art semi-honest MPSI being concrete efficient with the good asymptotics, and efficient two-party maliciously secure PSI of Rindal and Rosulik 17. We achieve malicious security in the multi-party setting and the concrete efficiency. Despite the importance of the problem of concretely efficient, maliciously secure protocols for more than 2 parties, and despite the extensive research on concrete efficiency PSI protocol, prior to our work, very little progress was made for multi-party PSI. In particular, there has been no concretely efficient multi-party maliciously secure PSI protocol prior to our work. PSImple is the first concretely efficient, multi-party, maliciously secure, proven for online, offline mode in the universal composability framework against any number of corrupt parties PSI protocol. It has the communication complexity linear in the number of parties and in the size of the input, and quadratic in the security parameter. It has only 2 rounds of communication in the online phase. We also revisit the parameter analysis of previous works on efficient PSI based on the similar building blocks, which results in up to 25% more efficient offline phase. We implemented our protocol and run experiments with up to 32 parties and 2 to the 20 inputs. And it is competitive even with the previously known semi-honest PSI protocols. In our protocol, we utilize 3 main building blocks: the data structure called Garber-Bloom filters, or GBF, K out of N oblivious transfer, and secret sharing. Let me shortly describe each of these 3 tools. I will start with Garber-Bloom filters, which are an extension of Bloom filters. Suppose that any item in the set X has its own associated value. Here, X1 is associated with the value Y1, X2 with the value Y2, and so on. For now, we can consider the mapping X to Y as a random mapping. We define GBF as the vector of numbers in the following way. Let some item X1 has its unique set of indexes inside GBF, defined by a fixed number of hash functions. We set the numbers at those indexes in GBF such that XOR of them equals the value Y1. The same is about X2 and Y2. When we fill the GBF for the new item, we don't touch previously filled cells. In this way, we can put some amount of items in this data structure. Note that there are many distinct GBFs for the same set, even with the same associated values. Well, because we fill cells randomly, just sticking to the fact that the sum of some designated cells equals to yi. Having GBF, the item X and the value Y, it's possible to check if X is in GBF or not, is in the same. In the case if X is not in GBF, the probe returns some random value, which is with high probability not Y. GBFs are additive. If X has the value Y in the first GBF and Y star in another, then its value in XOR of GBFs is Y XOR Y star. If X is not in even a single set, then the probe returns some random value. Thus, XOR of GBFs for the sets is the GBF of the intersection of those sets. The second building block is K out of N oblivious transfer protocol. It allows the receiver to secretly pick K values out of N, which the sender provides. The sender has no information about the choice, and the receiver obtains only chosen values, but nothing more. In our protocol, we use this building block to limit each party in receiving numbers or positions in GBF of other parties. We utilized the efficient approximate random K out of NLT protocol of Rindal and Rosolik. We did the refined parameter analysis for it, which results in up to 25% optimization there, and also gives stronger security guarantees. The third building block is the special case of XOR secret sharing scheme. Let the party has some number A. The secret shares A1, A2, and so on, A at T are random values chosen such that the XOR equals A. In our protocol, each party's secret shares is GBF. So here A is GBF of the set. Once it's computed and sends shares to other parties. As all the shares apart from one, which the party keeps for itself, are uniformly random values, the secret sharing communications belong to the offline phase, which is a very good use. In a nutshell, our protocol is the following. First, parties make the secret sharing of their GBF among all parties in the protocol. Then each PI has two-sided K out of N OT with the designated party P0. Afterwards, each PI makes the local computation, recalculating the new GBF, and sends it to the designated party directly. P0 locally XORs all GBFs it's received and computes the intersection of all the parties. The secret sharing and all rounds of OT, apart from the last one, are performed in the offline phase. Thus, the online phase has only 2 rounds. We implemented our protocol, incorporated several code optimizations, and ran extensive experiments with up to 32 parties and 2 to the 20 inputs. We separated the protocol into offline and online phases with the sizes of inputs up to 2 to the 12. The online phase is significantly smaller than the offline one. With big input sets, it's about the half of the overall running time due to the massive computation of GBF for big sets. PSImple is competitive even with the previously known semi-honest PSI protocols. Details of the implementation, experiments, and comparison can be found in our article. I have to say about 2 subsequent works the preprint of this article was published in February 2021, more than a year ago. Subsequent to it, two significant multi-party MPSI works were published. In Garimele et al. 2021, authors followed our outline, and instead GBF utilized the new data structure, which is magnitude sigma smaller. In this way, they achieved sigma times better asymptotic complexity than we. However, using OPRF protocol instead K out of N OT resulted in 3 online rounds, which is 1 round more than simple. Sadly, there was no implementation made for the multi-party case in this work, only for 2-party case. There is an implementation. The other subsequent work of Niveau-3 and Unite 21 constructs the MPSI protocol for the threshold security model. And if the number of corrupt parties equal to the number of parties minus 1, then their protocol is absolutely the same as GPR-TI 21. And this work has an instantiation which outperform ours, not sigma times, just about 9 times, 8, 9, but much less than sigma times better. Simple is the first concretely efficient, maliciously secure, in the full malicious setting multi-party PSI protocol. To conclude, let me draw some open questions for now, despite the fact that in this work and in subsequent ones, the concrete efficiency was obtained, and MPSI protocol we present and subsequent protocols also scale well with the number of parties. The designated party load is proportional to the number of parties in the protocol, which limits in some way the performance of MPSI protocols. We think that it's beneficial to consider how the load could be better balanced. Second thing is that for now, all malicious, concretely efficient MPSI protocols give output to only to the only designated party, to the single party. It's interesting to see how to make all the parties obtain the output securely and at a not very high price. Subsequent works obtain better asymptotic and concrete efficiency, but by the price of the online round complexity. It's interesting to see if it's possible to have them both. Out of the MPSI field, there are a number of other multi-party private set operation problems where our techniques could be possibly relevant, such as private set union and threshold private set union. So this is all I have on this talk. I invite you to look at the paper for many details I have not covered here, and you can see the link for the preprint, which is the full version of the article, and my contact email on this slide. Please ask questions.